Welcome to another episode of Off Point Cooking. I am Marlon White, and today we're going to talk about the hardest part of the weight loss journey, how to keep the weight off. When it comes to the weight loss journey, most people focus on the losing weight part, which makes sense because that's the biggest hurdle for most people. In fact, studies often suggest that 90% of diets fail, so most people do not make it to the next stage. For those individuals that manage to lose weight and reach their goal, a new question appears. How do I keep the weight off and not rebound? Because to be honest, this is something I struggled with in the past. I mentioned that last year I lost 34 kilos in 6 months, which for me wasn't the first, second or third time. This is something I've repeated several times throughout my life. Over the years, I've managed to lose weight several times using different diets. And unfortunately, each time the same thing eventually happened. I regained the weight, sometimes slowly, sometimes surprisingly fast. Now let's talk about the biggest mistakes I made. So looking back, some of the biggest mistakes I made is not having a plan for when the diet ends. I simply went back to eating the way I was eating before, which doesn't take a genius to work out what happened next. Because if that same lifestyle that caused you to gain the weight in the first place doesn't change, then you're eventually just going to put on the weight again. What I realized over time is losing weight and maintaining weight are two completely different challenges. Losing weight is usually about a calorie deficit, a structured plan, and staying disciplined over a period of time. However, maintenance is about something completely different. It's about building a lifestyle, because the goal is not to lose weight one time, it's to never regain the weight again. So this time I'm approaching things a lot differently from my other weight loss attempts. Instead of just focusing on losing weight and hoping that it stays off, I've put together a system to actively maintain my results. So here are some things that I'm doing differently this time. Turning my diet into a lifestyle instead of looking at it as a temporary phase. For example, the first time I did keto, I didn't treat it as a short-term diet. I actually adopted it as part of my lifestyle. If you take a look at my channel, you'll be able to see various different keto recipes that I made. This is generally how I used to eat. This is how I used to eat day to day. This was part of my lifestyle. The only difference was when I reached my target weight, I just increased the calories to maintain my weight. You can apply this principle to other diets. For example, if you're on a calorie deficit diet, just increase your calories to maintain your body weight, but continue to eat all the healthy foods you were eating while you was on the diet. The next thing I do is I track my weight daily. So the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is weigh myself. This allows me to monitor what's happening and make small adjustments if necessary. It's a lot better to notice a 2 or 3 kilogram increase in weight straight away rather than waiting until you've put on 10 to 15 kilograms before you start to do something about it. Tracking my weight daily helps me to keep aware, helps me to prevent any slow rebounds in weight. Another thing I do is I track my food intake. I pay attention to how many calories are on the food that I'm eating. And if I'm not sure about something, I'll wait so I know exactly what I'm consuming. This helps me to stay aware of my calorie intakes and helps me to avoid overeating. I also try to avoid foods that I know is unhealthy, because for me it's not just about the numbers, it's about consuming good foods. Another thing I learned is that you need a new goal once you reached your weight loss target. If your goal was only the number on the scale, once you've achieved your target weight, your motivation could disappear once you've achieved it. I've mentioned in previous videos that my new goal is now building muscle in the gym. Having this target keeps me motivated to keep going to the gym and keep track of what I'm eating. Your goal might be something completely different from mine. It might be to compete in a sport. It might be to compete in a race. It might be to improve your fitness and your health overall. What I'm saying is having something to work towards will make a complete difference. The next thing I'd like to mention is setting boundaries for cheat meals. But there's nothing wrong with enjoying food occasionally, but you need to set boundaries for when you do this. For example, only having one cheat meal in a week rather than spending the whole weekend having a cheat meals. Or setting a specific day in where you have a cheat meal. For example, if it's your birthday and you want to eat whatever you want, that's fine, but as long as it doesn't go over that period of time. Another thing that could help is avoiding food that might cause you to spiral out of control. For example, for me, I have a really bad sweet tooth. So if I was to have a cheat meal, I might avoid any desserts or any sweets because I know that will cause me to spiral. So I will just completely avoid that. It's very important that you control your cheat days, because this can easily turn into a bad habit. One day turns into 2 days, 2 days turn into a week turns into months, and next minute it's a year, and now you're in a worse position than when you first started trying to lose weight. So one thing I learned from losing weight several times in my life is that losing weight is only part of the journey. The real challenge comes from building a lifestyle that helps you to keep the weight off permanently. This starts by having a plan for what happens after the diet ends. I hope that this video has been helpful and you've been able to learn something from my experience. If so, please do me a massive favor and subscribe to my channel.